Well, it was the horrific Behelgam terror attack that forced Bharat to draw the ultimate line. Following that brutal strike, Prime Minister Narendra Modi sent a chilling message straight to Pakistan. Khoon aur pani saath saath nahi beh sakte. That blood and water cannot flow together. In fact, true to those words, India then held the 1960 Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, switched off the taps of the Indus water. Islamabad is feeling the absolute heat. A parched nation now pleads, threatens and warns India. After decades of bleeding India by 1,000 cuts, after decades of sponsoring cross-border terror, Pakistan has finally now been hit where it hurts the most. Nearly a year after Bharat choked the flow of the Indus water, exercising our absolute right over the resource, Pakistan is officially gasping for breath in a parched nation. The taps are running dry and the fields are parched. And guess what? The familiar old script of arrogance has collapsed into utter desperation. This isn't diplomacy anymore, viewers. This is begging bowl diplomacy. Pakistan has literally been forced to its knees, begging India to come to the negotiating table. They want a dialogue, they want a discussion. But why? Because they know that they cannot survive without Bharat's water. But New Delhi's stand remains absolutely rock clear, crystal clear and uncompromising, that terror and talks cannot go together, that blood and water will not flow together. But despite that, now you have a group of 117 so-called prominent citizens who have issued, under the Center for Peace and Progress, written an open letter to Prime Minister Modi and Shehbaz Sharif. Over 100 voices, and this includes several Indian political leaders, are now batting for dialogue. Well, along the begging came the desperate rants as well. We'll tell you all about it. We'll tell you about what exactly it is that Pakistan is saying. But let's also tell you about the desperate rants which are coming in from Pakistan. The former foreign minister of Pakistan, Hina Rabbani Khan, is having a complete meltdown in a seminar in Islamabad. In fact, she is now lecturing India, as you can see on your screens, about international waters, international treaties, and how the global public goods as well. She says, I'm going to quote her here, you have that on your screens. She says that our water today and others tomorrow, that India thinks that it is the stronger nation, which is why it can get away by breaking the Indus Water Treaty of 1960. Listen into what Hina Rabbani Khan has to say.
So this I read many years back, and I was like, after this, which country which wants to still function in the world as not a rogue state, but as a country which deserves a seat, forget the Security Council, but even the General Assembly, would ever be able to think it can walk itself out of a treaty like this? And Article 12 says, the provisions of this treaty may from time to time be modified by a duly ratified treaty concluded for that purpose between the two governments. And this kind of answers the question that was asked also over here, that should we renegotiate a treaty?
It was Hina Rabbani Khan who was lecturing India. Now Bilawal Bhutto Zardari has also joined the chorus, desperately crying out. He says that we want peace with dignity, not submission. Bilawal Bhutto is saying that the Indus is not a weapon in India's hands, warning that any attempt to undermine their water rights will be facing a response. Meanwhile, the Ministry of External Affairs has taken a firm stand and dismissed the reports calling Indian involvement in track 2 talks with Pakistan in Colombo. But before that, let me tell you about the letter, because I believe we have Mehbooba Mufti, who's also joining us here with Sahil. Before I do that, I'm going to tell you what exactly it is that the letter says, which has been written by 112 prominent citizens to the prime ministers of the two nations, that Mehbooba Mufti herself is a signatory too. I'm just going to ask for a confirmation on that so that we can go on to that Mehbooba Mufti chat as well, an exclusive interview lined up. But before that, I want to tell you what exactly it is that we have when it comes to the letter which has been written by 112 prominent citizens to Prime Minister Modi as well as Shehbaz Sharif, the Prime Minister of Pakistan. But before that, since we don't appear to have that, let me tell you about the desperate outcry which is coming in from Pakistan. You have Bilawal Ali Bhutto who's saying that Pakistan will defend its water as well as its treaty, and it is begging for dignity. Listen in.
Or a prime minister is able to resolve conflicts, establish reconciliation between two powers. I think that is something that is a legacy, I'm sure Modi ji, who is a very powerful leader at this point of time, he can leave that legacy behind by, addressing this issue, because the whole world is changing. And you see how Iran used Strait of Hormuz strategically and was able to bring both Israel and America on its knees. Jammu Kashmir is strategically, geographically very well placed. If we are able to, have good relations both with our Pakistani border, Pakistan and China, then we can make Jammu Kashmir a gateway to Central Asia and South Asia, and that will be very good. You see, when the Strait of Hormuz was closed, how much we suffered because of, petrol prices, gas prices. So if we are able to connect through Pakistan, recently I heard that Uttarakhand has agreed to open routes to Ladakh via Lipu Lake. So why not Khotan? Why not Yarkand? Via Ladakh. Why can't we open these routes to Central Asia, South Asia? So why can't we use Jammu Kashmir, which has become a bone of contention rather than a bridge of, reconciliation? And even SAARC is being held hostage to the animosity between the two countries. India has all the potential and leadership qualities to lead SAARC, to become the leader of SAARC. And Jammu Kashmir, we have always been saying, can become an experiment for the SAARC countries, where all the SAARC countries can invest and make it a model for the SAARC cooperation, because BJP has used the worst kind of medicine. I won't call it even medicine. You can say it is the deadlier weapon that they have used against Jammu Kashmir in 2019 by scrapping 370, 35(8) and making the whole place look like an open jail. But nothing has been resolved. Nothing has solved that. If Jammu Kashmir was a snowball, now it has become a glacier. People are further alienated. There is still tension between India and Pakistan, and now a new dimension has been added to it through China, because China has also occupied so much, such a big chunk of our land in Ladakh. So I think this is the only way to go forward. We can't, as Vajpayee ji rightly said, you can change your friends, but you can't change your neighbors. And I'm happy that RSS leadership is also endorsing the same stand.
So one more important point in this letter is the mention of basically demanding a discussion on the framework that was negotiated between India and Pakistan between 2004 and 2007, which we commonly refer as Mushawarah Formula. So why is the concerned group of citizens basically demanding a discussion on this, particularly after the abrogation of 370?
I think these are some nitty-gritties that need to be resolved, that both the sides have to sit, and I can't be discussing all those things. But let me remind all those people who are raising figures that it wasn't only Musharraf formula. Even our late Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee had reached to some understanding with Musharraf regarding opening of routes. That's why it was Vajpayee ji who initiated the opening of Muzaffarabad Road, and then it was opened during Manmohan Singh's time. So I don't think there is anything wrong, if you open Jammu Kashmir from all the sides on LOC, on LAC with China. It's going to become a hub of economic activity. That will be the best solution that Jammu Kashmir can look forward without undermining the sovereignty of either our country or Pakistan. It will be a bridge, not between India and Pakistan, but also between Central Asia and South Asia. I think that is the best thing that can happen to J&K.
So what sort of outcome you are expecting from this exercise from two sides of civil society when Government of India has a stand that terror and talks cannot go together?
Well, let's wait and see, because I have heard that there have been, it hasn't been denied by the Foreign External Affairs Ministry that there have, second level track 2 talks are going on. They were in Bangkok, then they were in Colombo. So let's hope that something is going on and it may lead to something fruitful in future. Thank you.
So it was PDP Chief Mehbooba Mufti exclusively, in fact, speaking to us on the letter that's written to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, also addressed to Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, demanding resumption of talks with.
Well, there you have it. That was a super exclusive of Times Now. Mehbooba Mufti, the former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, saying that track 2 talks are required between India and Pakistan. It's time to put the hostilities aside because there has been no outcome. The question, of course, continues, should Pakistan be absolved of the Pahalgam attack? Remember the Pahalgam attack, the massacre which was taken place? Right after that, India decided that blood and water will not flow together. Till date, the centre has not changed its stance. In fact, listen in to the Foreign Secretary, Vikram Misri, who says that there are several reports coming in that there are talks between India and Pakistan which are happening, but he says that is not true, that it's fake news. Listen in.
Dozens of these kinds of events take place in dozens of places around the world on a whole variety of subjects. So there's nothing new, nothing special about these events. As far as we are concerned, these are private events organized by private parties. There's nothing official about them, as far as we are concerned. I mean, obviously, I cannot speak for the government of Pakistan, but as far as dozens of these kinds of events take place in dozens of places around the world on a whole variety of subjects. So there's nothing new, nothing special.
Well, there you have it. Very categorically, you have the External Affairs Ministry coming out and saying there are no track 2 talks with India and Pakistan, which is currently underway. On your screens, you can see the list of prominent citizens, some from the Congress Party, from the NC, from the PDP, from other parties as well, who have signed, such as the RJD, who have signed that letter. With that, 112 prominent citizens have written to Prime Minister Modi and Shehbaz Sharif saying that India must resume dialogue with Pakistan. Let me go across to Sahil, who's joining us. Sahil, you just spoke to Mehbooba Mufti. The first reaction which is coming in from one of the signatories to that letter which has been written to the Prime Minister and Shehbaz Sharif, the Prime Minister of Pakistan. But one thing which Mehbooba Mufti did not explain or did not answer to is to should Pakistan be absolved of the Behelgam massacre and several other massacres that they have carried out. Does she say that blood and water can indeed flow together?
Well, PDP Chief Mehbooba Mufti basically putting it this in the framework and the scene that PDP basically believes in reconciliation and believes in dialogue process, and that's why in fact PDP Chief Mehbooba Mufti is suggesting that she signed the letter saying that if Iran and US can sit on table, India and Pakistan can also in fact come and in fact negotiate and in fact discuss, because PDP Chief is trying to say and suggesting that Jammu and Kashmir is in fact strategically placed at a place where it can open doors for South Asia, for in fact boost economic activity between the two nations basically, and that's why the letter in fact they have written to Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister in fact Shehbaz Sharif. But more important is that that Pahalgam terror attack has taken place, and after this attack the strategy and in fact the stance of government of India is very much clear that terror and talks cannot go. And I did in fact ask PDP Chief Mehbooba Mufti that where this exercise is going to in fact lead the concerned group of citizens on both sides of the nation, because there is no official patronage to these exercises. Ministry of External Affairs has made it very clear last time that the track to in fact meetings taking place elsewhere do not have official sanction, they doesn't impact the official policy or stance of of the government of India, which is very clear that terror and talks cannot go together. After Pahalgam terror attack, government of India has taken a stand. In fact, government of India put the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, and this is one point which is basically giving, in fact, sleepless nights to Pakistan, because its Punjab province and Sindh basically is dependent on the waters that flows from Jammu Kashmir or, in fact, other parts of the country towards Pakistan, and it's now in complete, control of the government of India, and water is released as and when government of India wishes to. So that is something very concerning for the Pakistan. We had seen yesterday also international conference being held in Islamabad on the Indus Water Treaty. Hina Rubani Khar, the former foreign minister of Pakistan, making statements, in fact Chinese being involved. But the government of India is very much clear on this, that terror and talks cannot go together. There must be some, in fact, assurance from Pakistan that will stop, in fact, exporting terrorism to Jammu and Kashmir.
Well, in fact, all of this is very interesting. The prominent citizens, many of them from opposition parties like the PDP, the RJD, the NC, the Congress party, are all coming out and saying have talks with Pakistan. On the other hand, you have the centre which says we will not. But there's another angle. Another big pressure group in India, the RSS. Repeatedly, the RSS has come out and said that India should now have talks with Pakistan. Let's remind you, you have Dattatreya Hosawale, the RSS General Secretary. In just May last month, you had his reaction saying that we should not close all the doors of communication between India and Pakistan, stating that the door should not be closed and that engagement through dialogue must continue. In fact, he had said that there should always be a window for dialogue and that constructive engagement remains important. What is the word coming out from the RSS? What are these little snippets which are coming in? Is this going to push the centre, nudge the centre towards talking with Pakistan? Listen in and you decipher.
If the Pakistanis, the pinpricks it's trying to give, like in Pahalgam, etc., we have to answer wholesomely according to the situation. Because the security and self-respect of a country and a nation has to be protected, and the government of the day should take note of it and take care of it. But at the same time, we need not close the doors. We should always be ready to engage them in dialogue. That's why diplomatic relations are maintained.
Okay.
Trade and commerce goes on.
Yeah.
Visas are being given. So that we should not stop it. But because there should be a window for always for a dialogue.
So let's say there are talks. What will the talks be about for Pakistan? The immediate pressure point is that of the Indus Water. What is the Indus Water Treaty of 1960 that India has put in abeyance? Let's remind you. Well, this is a water sharing agreement which was signed in 1960 between the two nations, and it was brokered by the World Bank itself. At the time, it was Prime Minister Nehru who had signed this treaty. It essentially governs about six rivers in the Indus water basin, and India got about 20% of the system's water, despite the fact that the origins of the rivers were in India. Pakistan got about 80% of the system's water. Now, it had survived wars, at least two wars between India and Pakistan, hostile diplomacy, smaller conflicts which have happened, but this treaty had always survived all of that till Behelgam happened. Right after Behelgam, Prime Minister Modi came out and said blood and water cannot flow hand in hand. They will not flow together, and the Indus Water Treaty was put in abeyance. But why the suspension of the treaty? Why does it really matter to India, to Pakistan? Why is it becoming such a pressure point for them? Let's explain why today Pakistan has been forced to its knees after India put the treaty in abeyance. Indus Water, remember, is a lifeline for the nation of Pakistan. It contributes to about 20% of Pakistan's GDP, which is linked directly to the Indus Water. In fact, 80% of the cultivated land relies on the water which is coming in from the Indus basin. all of that now has been switched off. 93% of this water has been used in irrigation in Pakistan. Pakistan is an agrarian nation, which is why its economy directly depends on the irrigation water which is coming in from the Indus water. Also, key water source for Karachi, Lahore and Multan, some of the biggest cities of Pakistan, depend wholly, if not fully, when it comes to the Indus water, which is why there is such a pain point for Pakistan. So here's what is happening when it comes to the Indus Water Treaty. We must explain to you how exactly India has shut off the tap and how India is walking the talk. They had warned Pakistan and now India has shut off the taps. Well, the water flow was through the Baglihal Dam. Now, that is exactly what has been stopped. Let's explain the Baglihal Dam. The Baglihal Dam is built on the Chenab River. Now, as per the Indus Water Treaty of 1960, Pakistan is entitled to use the Chenab waters. However, now the water has been shut off. Similar action is likely on another dam as well, which is the Kishan Ganga Dam. So far, only the Chenab Dam has shut off the water. Now it's possible that action would be taken on the Kishan Ganga Dam as well. In fact, remember, right after the Behelgam attack had happened, India launched Operation Sindoor. Addressing the nation for the first time after Operation Sindoor, at that time itself, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had on 12th of May last year made it very clear that India will not hold talks with Pakistan when it comes to the Indus water to pay them for the massacre which was carried out in Pahalgam, till the neighboring country takes action against terrorists hiding in its own nation. Let's remind you, what was the clear, unambiguous message which was sent to Pakistan that water and blood will not flow together.
भारत ने तय कर लिया है, खून और पानी एक साथ नहीं बहेंगे। अब देशवासियों को भली भांति पता चला है कि सिंधु का समझौता कितना अन्यायपूर्ण है, कितना एक तरफा है। भारत से निकलती नदियों का पानी दुश्मनों के खेत को सींच रहा है और मेरे देश के किसान, मेरे देश की धरती पानी के बिना प्यासी है। ये ऐसा समझौता था जिसने पिछले 7 दशक से मेरे देश के किसानों का अकल्पनीय नुकसान किया है।
At a time when the Behelgam wounds are still fresh, watch the way now there are talks or other demands for talks with Pakistan which are already coming to light. The question still remains what I started the show with. Can Pakistan be absolved? That's the question we must ask. Well, that's all we could pack in for you here on Setting the Agenda. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow, 12 noon, right here on Times Now.